Hey guys, I'm Miss Anna, the Youth Services Assistant Librarian for Decatur Public Library, and welcome to Draw a Story. I hope you've been enjoying drawing your stories with us, and for today's story, we're going to do it a little differently. For today's story, we're going to have a guessing game. So I want you to listen to the story and guess this man who I'm talking about, who I'm describing in the story. I want you to guess this man based on the words that you hear, but also the image that we're going to draw. So if you have a pencil and your paper, let's get started. This man was born in Mississippi, Tupelo, Mississippi to be exact. He was actually a twin, but his brother had died at birth. For a time, when he was 3, he and his mother were homeless, but only for a few months. He had beautiful blue eyes and blonde hair to tuck behind his 2 ears. His mother wanted him to have a good life, so she took his upbringing very seriously. She walked him to school, and then she'd walk him back home. Then she'd walk him to church, and she'd walk him back home. At church, this boy realized that he had a love for music. His mom bought him a musical instrument to play. He practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced until he could play the instrument backwards and forwards. During middle school, his family moved to Memphis, Tennessee. And in Memphis, there was a recording studio called Sun Studios. There, he recorded his very first song as a gift to his mom. Eventually, this boy, who is now a high school graduate, caught the eye of the man who ran the studio. And this person put our boy on the radio. This caught the attention of a manager who thought our boy was going to be huge in the music industry. This manager got our boy a record deal with RCA Records, where he recorded his first single with them called Heartbreak Hotel. Can you guess who our mystery musician is? If you guessed Elvis, then you are correct. And there is your guitar. One thing that I like about this type of story is that we're listening and drawing at the same time. This type of activity helps with note-taking skills, which is something everyone will need to learn at one point in their life, for school or for work. Plus, this type of story is fun. Did you notice that for every line you heard and every shape we drew, there was a connection between the two? So, for instance, we started with an M for Mississippi. Then the next step we took was to draw another little M beneath it, because when Elvis was born, he had a twin. So we drew an identical M. When we got to Sun Studios, we drew an S and then a backwards S, because Sun Studios, SS. The circle we drew in the middle, when we mentioned the first song he recorded, in the 1950s, when you recorded a song, that was on a big black record. And I tried to find one to show you, but I couldn't. But it was this big black record, which is kind of like the modern day CD. You just record music on it. But nearly every shape in this drawing has a meaning. And I'll bet you can retell the story just based off the drawing that you drew during the story. But I want to encourage you to replay this video, practice your drawing and your storytelling, and then take this story out and share it with your friends, your parents, your teacher, and see if they can guess our mystery man, Elvis. One thing I want to say before we close out is that the story, the words that I wrote, They all came from these two books. I read this Who Was Elvis Presley, part of the Who Was series, and They Died Too Young about Elvis. So these two books were my sources in writing this story, which they're really both really great and informative books. But that's all I have to share with you. Happy drawing! Bye, guys.